Trump is out here forming the Avengers. He's forming the Avengers, and Obama is panicking hard. Democrats are panicking hard as RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, Byron. Like, it's a lot of big names, ladies and gentlemen, and we got to talk about Nicole Shanahan, which is the VP pick for RFK Jr. And RFK Jr. is 100% about to endorse Donald Trump, drop out of the race. And Donald Trump and RFK, that's going to be insane. That's going to be crazy. But before we do any of that, can I just show you something? Let me just show you something. This is from Kamala Harris's White House. Take a look at this.
When you hear that, do you potentially think that this new numbers could be a liability for this campaign?
No, when I hear that, first of all, I don't believe it because I've never heard Donald Trump say anything truthful.
It is, though, from the Bureau of Labor.
Bro, did you guys hear about the job numbers? I spoke about it earlier. The job numbers were fabricated. Actually, 818,000 new jobs were not added. And this is the Bureau of Labor. I mean, this is coming from the Bureau of Labor, and this is someone from the administration who says they don't believe the numbers because Trump is a liar, and then they get fact-checked live on ABC. But why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because Obama was on air bragging about the numbers. He was bragging about the numbers. Take a look.
Economists estimate up to 1 million jobs could just vanish in this morning's job revisions because they were overcounted. That pokes holes in the Biden administration's narrative that the economy is strong.
And as today's jobs numbers make clear, Bidenomics is working.
And today we have the strongest economy in the world, the lowest inflation rate among the major economies. 13.5 million new jobs.
So we're seeing a steady and stable growth as we have been talking about for some time, and we're seeing that. That's what we believe the jobs numbers showed us just last week.
So joining us now is co-host of the Big Money Show on Fox Business, Brian Brimberg. Brian, what are we expecting today at 10 o'clock?
Here's what happens. Every month they estimate how many jobs that we get, right? But those are estimates. And so you've probably noticed each month you get a little revision to the previous month's number. Well, right now, you're going to get an entire revision to the last year's numbers. And that could mean we overstated our jobs by 1 million because the surveys, the estimates were wrong. The problem is politicians.
Look at this. We really overestimated them 4 times.
Well, and it happens almost every month. Okay. But the point is, Americans are always saying, I don't feel as good as these jobs numbers are telling us or the politicians are telling us. And there's a reason for that. Your gut is probably right. The numbers we're getting month after month are not quite right, even though the politicians want to tell you they're right.
How will this affect the Federal Reserve? How will it affect interest rates?
Well, that's the problem. So the Federal Reserve says we look at the data to determine how to change interest rates. And they're now saying, ooh, the data might have been way off. The economy might not be quite as strong as we thought. So if this revision is like a negative 1 million, that might mean the Federal Reserve has to cut interest rates more and earlier than they thought. So you could see interest rates come down faster if, in fact, the jobs picture is weaker than we thought it was.
Some economists at Goldman Sachs say that they expect it could be 1 million. But
could be 500,000 to 1 million, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll get those numbers at 10 o'clock. So Barack Obama was on stage at the DNC yesterday, and he's touting that same number that they continuously spout out, the 15 million jobs that they've created. You laugh. You said it's the stupidest statistic ever. Listen to what Barack Obama said.
At a time when our economy was reeling, we needed a leader with the determination to drive what would become the world's strongest recovery. 15 million jobs, higher wages, lower health care costs.
So where is he?
They shut down the economy, okay? You know, millions of jobs immediately shut down. And then, you know, the powers that be let us go back to work again. And they count those jobs as job gains under Biden. It's absolutely ridiculous. It is a flat out lie. They tell it repeatedly, and they use it as like this part of their platform. You know, when they're fact checking the economy, they use this number. Stop it. Barack Obama knows better. Biden knows better. Harris knows better. Everybody knows better.
Thank you, Brian.
That's what I meant by.
Wow. So Obama up there panicking and lying. Crazy. So here is Trump being asked about RFK. Now let's go to RFK, because Trump is out here forming the Avengers. Like I said before, he's out here forming a squad that is unbeatable, and Obama knows it, which is why they all have to lie about these numbers.
Can I ask you about RFK? Because just moments ago, his running mate said that they were considering endorsing you. Have you considered him for a role in the administration, and what role would that be?
Well, we haven't, but I would love that endorsement because I've always liked him.
Would you also consider putting him in the administration?
You're asking me a very unusual question. I haven't been asked that question yet. I like him a lot. I respect him a lot. I probably would if something like that would happen.
So big things happening. Trump added Tulsi Gabbard. You guys remember Tulsi Gabbard versus Kamala? This is Kamala's worst nightmare, by the way. Why do I say that? Well, here's why.
What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we already know what she's done to Kamala. So having her give Trump advice on how to handle Kamala is just genius. It is extremely, extremely genius. Now, here it is after night 2, where Obama was talking. The RFK camp is strongly considering dropping out and endorsing Trump. This is about to be amazing. Take a listen.
You made some big news today, talking about the Kennedy-Shanahan ticket. Does it stay in the race, Nicole? What are your thoughts on that?
You know, it's Bobby's decision. I came into this supporting him wholeheartedly to win this election. Mm-hmm. And I have to say there's only one party that has obstructed a fair election for us. And unfortunately, it was the Democratic Party. They've done everything they can, including creating PACs to prevent us from being able to have ballot access.
Yeah, it's interesting because you were saying,
wow, Democratic Party, Democrats saving democracy. This is what they've done to RFK. RFK, who is the nephew of John F. Kennedy, who we know to have a history with, of course, CIA. And RFK has said that he wants those files released, and so has Trump.
That you could stay in and run the risk of Kamala Harris win, or you could walk and you could join forces with Donald Trump. When you say join forces, Nicole, what do you mean specifically?
Well, this idea of a unity party, an idea of us coming around these principles of fighting for liberty in this country, fighting for our children's health. We have the worst chronic health crisis in the world right now. Over 50% of children are diagnosed with some chronic disease. This is unconscionable. Yeah. And we are willing to work with anyone who is sincere in their endeavor to fix and address this issue.
Do you believe the Trump campaign and Trump himself is sincere? Do you see a home? You talk about this as being Bobby's decision. Do you see a home for RFK Jr. in the Trump administration, Health and Human Services, something to that extent?
I would fully support it. I would fully support a strong partnership dedicated to this issue. A lot of people comment that in his first term, he didn't accomplish many of the things that mothers really were hoping he would do, made some big mistakes around the pandemic. However, I think that he is sincere.
Yeah,
I do.
I think it's interesting because the National Review today kind of agrees with you. It's saying that if you, in fact, join the Trump campaign, I'm not saying the Trump campaign, if you pulled out of the race, that it would be more beneficial to the Trump campaign than the Harris campaign. Is that a fair assessment?
And I told you, I can't wait for this. Oh, I can't wait for this. Oh, my. Trump and RFK. Do you know how legendary that is? They're going to be writing about that in books for years to come.
Assessment?
I think that it's a tight race right now.
Yeah.
I wish that we had a chance to debate, that we had fair representation in the polls. I wish we had a chance to be on stage, because had we likely would have won this election.
Yeah.
71% of Americans want a strong third party option, and we delivered it in terms of ballot access.
Yeah.
But they're suing us. The DNC
Right.
aligned PACs are suing.
What? The DNC is Wait, I didn't even know that. So the DNC has tried to make it impossible for RFK to run, and now they're suing the RFK Jr. camp. Crazy. Because he's a Democrat at heart. He's very liberal, obviously, but there are things about him that I like. Wow.
Suing us to get us off the ballots right now. These are frivolous lawsuits. We've had some of the best people involved in our ballot petitions, some of the most precise, signature packages ever submitted to any of the Secretary of States. We've overcome so much to get to this point. So to even be contemplating this is tough. It's a really hard decision, and we don't come to this moment lightly. We come to this moment because in every single decision we make, first and foremost, we want to make sure that we are representing the best interests of health and wellness of young people, children, and future generations.
Nicole Shan.
Wow, that is crazy. Well, here's RFK speaking of his uncle and speaking of what the Democrats are doing to him. Take a listen.
Hey, everybody. I'm at the state courthouse in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. This morning, I'm supposed to be in a meeting with community leaders on the south side of Chicago today, talking about criminal justice reform. But I had to come here because the Democratic Party is suing me in Pennsylvania. And by the way, tomorrow I'm going to Mineola, Long Island, because they're suing me there too. They're suing me all over the country. They're trying to keep me off the ballot. Unfortunately, in some of these states, we're running into judges who are highly politicized and who are very, very...
Wow, so he's dealing with lawfare. Man, these Democrats, I mean, bro, people that support Democrats, if you can't see through this, they're literally attacking RFK. Now, we know why. Because forget about his Second Amendment stance. Forget about all of that. He's not going to be the president. We know this. But his stance on, you know what? C-19. His stance is on the World Health Organization. His stance is on all these things. Is that the reason why they're trying so hard to get? Because they're literally suing the crap out of this dude. They took him off the ballots. They literally made him run as an independent. His own party that his family has been a part of for generations now.
Sympathetic, let me put it that way, to the DNC. And today, the judge was less than sympathetic to our side. I came down from Boston this morning. I was supposed to get here last night. We had the whole day set aside for my testimony and for the testimony of Nick Branna, who is our ballot access director, who stayed the night here in Harrisburg. But I was supposed to come last night, but my plane got canceled because of weather. So I got up at 4 o'clock this morning, and I made it here by 11:30, but the judge said that because I was late, that I was not going to get a chance to testify. So my testimony, which was critical in this case, was excluded, and she wouldn't even let Nick Branna testify, even though he was sequestered. So he wasn't.
Wow, they wouldn't even let this guy testify.
Supposed to be in the courtroom. He was sequestered a few minutes away at a hotel, and he could have been there in minutes, literally. But the judge said because he wasn't there at that time, that she wasn't going to let him testify. We may lose this case.
Wow.
On the state level, we will definitely win it on appeal. And here's why. There's 2 cases that are exactly on point that are Supreme Court cases. One of them is from 40 years ago. It's called Anderson.
Somebody said RFK is difficult to watch and listen to. Well, then click off, man. This is who he is. This is what his health is. He has a I forgot the name of it, but he obviously has a huge problem speaking. And if you don't like it, then don't listen to him, man.
Versus Celebrezzi. And that case, you remember John Anderson, some of you, who was an independent who ran against Ronald Reagan. And he announced his candidacy after the conventions. And so he was very late, and he was late getting on some state court ballots. It was the deadline had already passed. The deadline passes before the conventions in many states. And so those states said, you can't get on. You missed the statutory deadline. The Supreme Court said you can't do that. That the 12th Amendment says there's only 3 requirements for being president: that you're 35 years of age, you were born here, and that you're currently a citizen. That's it. That the states are not allowed to put additional burdens on that would create a patchwork across the country. That case said there's only one national election. And if states are...
You know, I'm going to say this. And maybe some of you guys feel this, right? A lot of Democrats think that they're on the right side of history. But I want you to think about the next 20 years to come, right? Maybe the next 10 to 15 years. When, matter of fact, let's go to 100 years, right? How do we think about the 60s? How do you guys think about JFK today? Because maybe during that time, a lot of people thought JFK was the bad guy. Maybe they thought he was the radical. Maybe they thought he was Trump of this time. A lot of people think that they're on the right side of history, but maybe we're looking back at the 60s now like, wow, CIA, RFK, of course, senior, JFK, the Kennedy family. The way we view them now is because we know that something was off during that time and there was some type of messed up things happening. I got to be careful what I say because of YouTube purposes. A lot of people think they're on the right side of history right now. But 100 years from now, it'll prove that, wow, Democrats literally went after Trump. There was an assassination attempt against Trump. Democrats literally made RFK's life literally miserable. They made him run as an independent. They sued him. So we're going to be looking back in 100 years from now like, wow, this Democratic Party from the 2020s, from the early 2000s, right? In the year 2050, in the year 2100, 2120, 100 years from now, we're going to be looking back like, wow, a lot of people thought that they were doing the right thing. And then you look back, you're like, no, they weren't. So I don't know, man. When you look at Elon Musk, when you look at all these people, I got one more video. Let's go to Donald Trump Jr. How does he feel about all of this? Take a listen.
The endorsement from RFK, do you think that's coming?
Listen, I hope so. I think RFK, I think he's a smart guy. I think he's actually got very good views on certain things. I think there's other things, we're going to disagree with him on. But I think it shows sort of a unity against, literally, you mentioned it before I hopped on about the communism that we are up against. It's not hyperbole anymore. It's not like, oh, they're just a little bit more left than us. It's not, these people, she's talking about, we want to set up price fixing and we want to set up this and we're going to be auditing businesses and we're going to take away your business and we're going to take away your children if we, can't do, drive-through, transgender surgeries for minors without parental consent.
Right.
They've lost their minds. And so, I love the idea. I love the idea of, giving him, some sort of role in some sort of, major, 3-letter entity or whatever it may be and let him blow it up. I think that's what we need. And so I think that kind of unity.
Did you guys hear that? I told you guys. Forget about his stances that you don't like on a lot of things. I would say his stances on the 3-letter agencies will be totally fair and correct.
Your children, if we, can't do, drive-through, transgender surgeries for minors without parental consent. They've lost their minds. And so, I love the idea. I love the idea of, giving him, some sort of role in some sort of, major, 3-letter entity or whatever it may be and let them blow it up. I think that's what we need. And so I think that kind of unity, even where there may be certain disagreements on certain things, I think he could be a really great asset for that. I think he could bring people together. And I think it shows a strong, a strong opposition to what we are up against, which is just abject insanity. And I think if we had real unity, across independents and others in America to stand up for what we know is coming, what the media is doing a very good job hiding from us, which is the reality of the Kamala Harris platform, which is just a continuation of the Biden administration's platform. You know, we don't need another 4 years of this. What's unique with this election, we had 4 years under Trump. We've had 4 years under Biden. When were you better off? It's sort of a no-brainer. And yet, you know, when you're up against the trillion-dollar institution of tech, $1 trillion of mainstream media functioning as the marketing arm of the Democrat Party, you know, it's hard to get a fair shake. And so we have to expose that. And the more people that we had on board, the better. So I'd certainly be open and welcome to the idea, frankly.
Wow. So RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, a lot of people coming on board. I think this one right here is the most underrated one now. Adding Tulsi Gabbard, I think, is so genius. I really do. And she's officially a Trump advisor. And then once, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think, man? When you unify with people, you don't. This is what I tell people all the time. Somebody snapped on me before I ended my live stream. They were like, "Oh, you're a Democrat. Stop pushing this stuff on us. You're all these bad things to me." I said, "Look, you don't agree with me on a lot. You may agree with me on issues, but if you unify and work together, that's literally what this is all about. Unifying with people you've never worked with before, but everybody has that same goal in common, which is a great America, great teamwork, winning, right? Groceries low, taxes low, no wars overseas, going against this establishment. That's what this is all about." Somebody said I'm a communist. Jeff, you're crazy, Jeff. I love you though, Jeff. I know Jeff. I've seen him comment before. Maybe he's joking, maybe he's not, but me being a communist is pretty insane for it. But yeah, people rising up against this wicked system. We saw what the system looked like. We literally saw Obama stand up there and call Trump dangerous. We saw him give a speech. We saw Michelle Obama give a speech. All these people give speeches, but nobody's buying it anymore. Nobody's buying it anymore. So we'll see. But I like this. I like what's going on. I think adding RFK would be so good, in my opinion. It really does change the landscape of this. Yeah, I really do. So comment down below. What do you guys think about all of this? And I'll see you guys on the next one, man. Smash the like button.